Welcome back. I'm back. You're back. Hey, we back. Welcome everyone's episode on the Ultimate Sports TV, guys. Yes, the NFL schedules are finally out, so we got to get to some predictions. Since I'm not doing record predictions this early, I am going to do a playoff or layoff tier list for the NFL. Which teams will not go to the playoffs? Which teams will? And how will we rank those teams, guys? So we got the tier Super Bowl contender. We got the tier playoff powerhouse. We got the wild card contenders. We got the borderline playoff teams. We got the meh teams, and then we got the teams that are going to be tanking this year, guys. But before I get to the Steelers, please make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Sports TV. Because if you are not subscribed, you're missing out on so much, people. Because this is the hot spot. Get lots and lots of time from the Ultimate Sports TV spot with NBA and NFL content. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and join the TUSTV squad. Then we're done with that. Please like this video for me, share this video and YouTube channel. Then comment down below your top 5 Super Bowl contenders in the comment section below, guys. But now let's get to this tier list, and we're going to start off with kind of the easy teams, the teams we pretty much know about, and teams I'm pretty sure about that will really be in what tier. So for the Texans, I don't think they'll be very good this year. Depending on what happens to Deshaun Watson, they'll either trade him or he's probably not going to play. So I think the Texans are most likely tanking this year because I do not just think Deshaun Watson will be with their team next season. Now, the Jaguars, I think they'll be a meh team. They won't be super bad because they have Trevor Lawrence, but they will not be a borderline or playoff contender, guys. So I'll put the Jaguars in the meh tier. Let's look for some other teams here. Well, the Buccaneers, we know they're a Super Bowl contender, barring injury for any of these teams. We know the Buccaneers have everything they need. They're bringing back all starters they had from last year when they won the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers are Super Bowl contenders. They're going in that tier. And we also know Chiefs, also in the Super Bowl last year. We know they're Super Bowl contenders, almost Super Bowl contenders every single year. Now, are there any other teams that we really know about? Well, the Falcons, they're not going to be a borderline playoff contender next year. Uh, I think the Bengals really strike out to me sometimes. I think I really like what they did in the offseason. I like what they did to their offensive line, although they did not get Panay Sewell. I did like what they added in free agency and what they already have there. Uh, I'll put them as a med team. I think they're a 7-win team. I think next year is when we start to see them kind of sneak into that wild card race. Now let's get into some of these teams where, hey, they could be here, they could be there. And we're going to start with the 49ers. I think they're going to be a wild card team. When you have a team that's coming back healthy, when you still have Kyle Shanahan, although they do not have Robert Saleh, that kind of worries me a bit, but they still have playmakers on defense and they still have an offense that is evolving, has added more playmakers, and still has a good offensive line. Brandon Ayuk is going to be an even better player. I think Debo Samuel there, he's still going to be the same good player we're used to. Whether you start Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, I think either quarterback is going to do well. I don't think Trey Lance is going to start this year. He's NFL ready, but I do think this team will be good enough and the accommodations will be good enough around Jimmy Garoppolo for him to stay in the whole year. And I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to be a wild card team. Now, they're in the NFC West. I know they're a good team, but I do not think they're going to win the division. I think there's another team that is going to win the division. Now, the Bears, I think they're going to be a borderline playoff team. Not because I don't think they're good enough, just because I think of who gets in front of them. Now, I think the Bears with Justin Fields, who I think will start about week 2, because I don't think they'll be all that happy with what Andy Dalton does for them. I think Justin Fields will have a pretty good season. I think he'll be an offensive rookie of the year finalist. Other than an offensive line, I like the receivers that they have in Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson. And Anthony Miller stays, I do like that receiving core, and I like what they have in the running game, especially with David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. What concerns me is that offensive line. We'll see how that goes, and I like that defense. Now, the Bills, they're a playoff. No, they're a Super Bowl contender. We know that. Their passing attack is one of the best in the league. Their secondary is pretty nice. I like their linebackers. What concerns me about the Bills is how they control the line of scrimmage. They're going to need to get better at running the ball, and I just do not see that happening this year, knowing they did not upgrade their offensive line, they did not upgrade their running backs, and they did not upgrade their defensive line, unless you're talking about bringing in Carlos Basham or bringing in Gregory Rousseau from the draft. I do think they're Super Bowl contenders, though, and I think they'll win the division in the AFC East once again. Now, the Broncos, they're going to be borderline playoffs. Their defense is going to be good this year, but Drew Lock is what's going to hold them back because in that receiving core, they do have Jerry Judy, they do have Tim Patrick. Please forgive me if I'm missing someone, but they do have Melvin Gordon and they do have a solid offensive line. I just do not believe in Drew Lock. I do believe they'll be a borderline playoff team, though. I just think they'll fall short because of all the teams that they do have in the AFC. Now, the Browns, they've really upgraded their team this offseason. They're a Super Bowl contender. To me, they're one of the most versatile teams in the league, and they really have the second best roster in all of the league. Their defensive line is going to be good. Their offensive line is going to be good. We already know the running game, but the passing game is where I see the biggest improvement from them, unless you're talking about the secondary for the Browns on that defensive side. Baker Mayfield is going to get OBJ back, and he finally is in a stable system, a good system where he finally knows it, and he'll be comfortable with passing to OBJ. So not only will they be the best rushing team in the NFL, they will be a top 10 passing offense, in my opinion, and they will have a top 5 defense in the NFL, knowing all the playmakers they have on their secondary and the guys who I think will prosper in the linebacker room and the guys I think they will do well with on their defensive line with Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. The Browns are going to be incredible this year. They're a legit Super Bowl contender going into this year. Now, the Cardinals, because they are in the NFC West, I think they're borderline playoffs. I do think the Cardinals will be good. I do think they'll have ups and downs this season because I don't really believe what they have on defense unless you're talking about up front. But I do like their chances of getting into the playoffs this year. I do like the Cardinals, think they're borderline playoffs. I may change this later. We'll see. Now, the Chargers, I think they're getting into the wild card round. You bring in a new head coach. You have Justin Herbert, who is rising. I think this defense is going to be solid. It's not going to be world beater defense, but I do think it's going to be a good defense. This offense will kill you this season. I really like the Chargers offense. I like what they can do on defense. I'm just not going to be blown away by their defense. I think the Chargers are going to be in the wild card round this year. Now, for the Colts, I think they're going to be a playoff powerhouse. Now, if Carson Wentz does not do good this year, there's no other way you can fix him because the only way to fix Carson Wentz is really at this point Frank Reich because we know what Frank Reich did for him in Philadelphia. But I do think Carson Wentz is going to succeed because he has Frank Reich beside him, because they have a good offensive line, because they have a run game, and because they have Michael Pittman and T.Y. Hilton in that passing game. And we know how that defense is. That defense is full of studs, and that defense is good. The Colts are a playoff powerhouse team, in my opinion. Now, the Cowboys, I think I think they're going to win the division, so I'm going to say they're a playoff powerhouse. I see their defense getting better. That secondary could still be a problem, but I do like the additions they added to it. Uh, I like their defensive line. Dak is coming back. Obviously, I like their offense. They could be a potential playoff powerhouse. To me, there's something in me just holding me back, saying I have to see it all from the Cowboys first. But I do think this is the year their offense truly puts it together, and I don't think their defense will be as bad as it was last year. And also, they're in the NFC East. So the Dolphins now, they're going to be a wild card team. I like their defense. My only problem with them is they got to do better controlling the line of scrimmage. I'd like to see more moves on their offensive line, and I'd like to see more moves on their defensive line. Although they did acquire Jalen Phillips in the draft, I do like the Dolphins this season, though. They're going to be a wild card team. To me, the Eagles, they're going to be a meh team. I do think Jalen Hurts could have a pretty solid season. He's not going to be a world beater QB, but I do like that he has Devonta Smith, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goddard. Now, that offensive line does concern me, and I think we could see some plays made from this defensive time. They're not going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a med team this year. Now, the Giants, I think they're going to be borderline playoffs. There's too many teams in the NFC that I think are good, so I don't think the Giants are going to get in. To me, like the Broncos, what's holding them back is their quarterback. I do not believe in Daniel Jones. He gets hurt too much, and he just needs to fix his ways as a quarterback. They have all that he needs around him, and I do think that the Giants will get better, but ultimately, Daniel Jones is going to hold them back because he simply just cannot make enough plays and do enough right things for the Giants to be good. The Jets, they're going to be a meh team. I think Zach Wilson will have a pretty okay season. I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback or the second best quarterback in this draft class because he has Robert Saleh. I think he'll be pretty nice in his first year. I don't think they're going to be a borderline playoff team. I think that would be blowing it out of proportion, but I don't think they're going to be horrible. I think the Jets will be a meh team. Now, the Lions, I think they're going to tank. Now, Jared Goff, he's not the quarterback everybody wants. I don't think he's going to be all that great this year, especially knowing they don't have all the receivers he needs around him, and their running back room is very up and down with injuries, and their offensive line could be better. Their defense could also be better. So I don't really see much from the Lions this year. The Packers, I don't know, man. They just have not put enough around Aaron Rodgers, and they may not even have Aaron Rodgers. With them, this is very hard. I like their secondary. Their defense is a bit up and down though. I To me, at a certain extent, you cannot just go on each year not giving Aaron Rodgers enough to work with on his offense. Now that they have Aaron Rodgers right now, we'll see if he gets traded or not. I think they're a playoff powerhouse. But if they don't have Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be a Met team. But because they have Aaron Rodgers right now, they're a playoff powerhouse. The Panthers. Uh, I think the Panthers will be borderline playoffs. I like some playmakers on their defense. I don't think their defense is going to be ultimately awesome, but I do like their offense. The thing that concerns me about them, though, is their offensive line. You're going to have to protect Sam Darnold. You can have all the running backs and receivers and tight ends you want around him, but you have to protect this guy because that's the key to making him a good quarterback. To me, that protection is going to be iffy this year when you look at their depth chart. So I think the Panthers will be good this year because I think Sam Darnold under Judge will be good, but I do not think that offensive line is really going to help them out this year. Now the Patriots, I think they're going to be borderline playoffs. Now, when you spend a bunch of money in free agency, we see it doesn't work most of the time. With them, I think it's going to be another case. But to me, their wide receiver and quarterback situation really worries me. Now, Cam Newton, he doesn't have it left in the tank to me. I think I just don't think Cam Newton can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback anymore at this point in his career. Although they do have Henry and Jonnu Smith, I think they do need more receiver pieces for Cam Newton to kind of play around with. So I think the Patriots will be good this year, but they're going to be a borderline playoff team. The Raiders, they're also going to be borderline playoffs. They're consistently mediocre year after year. I don't see much from the Raiders this year. They'll be in the borderline playoffs team. Now, the Rams, now that they added Matthew Stafford and are actually able to do something with their playbook, now that they've gotten rid of Jared Goff, they're going to be really good. I might even put them in the Super Bowl contender tier. I really like the Rams this year. Now, the Ravens, they've got to do something this year. I don't think they're a major Super Bowl contender because of the pieces that they lost on their defense, but I think their offense is going to progress this year, knowing they got Tylan Wallace and Rashad Bateman in the draft and added Sammy Watkins to that receiving core. Their offensive line concerns me, which I think is going to be a problem during the year, and their defense, especially that front seven, although they do blitz a lot, they do need more playmakers up there. But the Ravens are still the Ravens. I think they're still going to be good. Now, the Washington football team, I think they'll be good. I like their offensive line. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick with all the weapons he has up in Washington. And that defense is a top 3 defense in the league. And of course, I love Ron Rivera as the coach there. The Saints, they have a good coach in Sean Payton, and they have a pretty good offensive line. They've got Michael Thomas, they've got Alvin Kamara, and they have a pretty good defense. They just don't have Drew Brees, and that's what's going to stop them from getting to the playoffs. So I think the Saints will be a borderline playoff team. The Seahawks are another team I think will be a borderline playoff team because they're in the NFC West. I think they'll just miss the playoffs. Their defense is going to be atrocious once again. Their secondary got worse by losing Shaquille Griffin. Their front seven has to get better. And they can't go another year with their offensive line being bad. And it looks like they will have that happen again. You can't have Russell Wilson running for his life every play, every single season. But it looks like that's what the Seattle Seahawks are going to do. The Steelers are going to miss the playoffs. Their offensive line is not going to be good. Their secondary got worse. Ben Roethlisberger is aging. I don't expect him to be any better. Although they do have Najee Harris, and I think he'll be a solid running back this season, they don't have any run blockers. And if you're Najee Harris and you ran behind a good offensive line at Alabama and you can't do that where you have terrible run blockers with Pittsburgh, I think it'll be good, but it won't be a pretty sight for him every single play. I think the Steelers will be a borderline playoff team. I think they'll win 8, 9 games this year. The Titans, they're going to run Derrick Henry into the ground once again, especially because they only have A.J. Brown in that receiving core. And what concerns me about the Titans is that they may rely too much on Derrick Henry, knowing they don't have much elsewhere. They lost Corey Davis, so they can't really do much in the pass game after they really lost him. Of course, they have AJ Brown, and he's going to be amazing this year. But you but you need more receivers in that receiving core. And I think that'll cause them to lean on Derrick Henry too much. And that's not going to be a good result. Also knowing you've lost some pieces on the offensive line. You lost some good blocking tight ends this offseason. And your front seven is not one of the best in the league and cannot really generate pressure often. Now, originally I was going to put the Vikings in the wild card tier. But now I think I think I might replace them with the Seahawks. I just don't know about the Seahawks, man. I feel more confident about the Arizona Cardinals defensive line than I do about the Seahawks defensive line. And I feel more confident about their secondary. I think that the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. I feel confident about the Cardinals making the playoffs. Their offensive line got better. Their defensive line got better with adding J.J. Watt to Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden. I do kind of like their secondary, even though they did lose Patrick Peterson. They still have Byron Murphy. They got Malcolm Butler. They have Buda Baker. I do think the Arizona Cardinals will be a wild card team, guys. But this is my NFL playoff or layoff tier list, guys. My Super Bowl contenders are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buccaneers, the Bills, the Browns. My good playoff teams are the Rams, the Ravens, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Packers, as for now. My wild card teams are the 49ers, the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Washington football team, and the Cardinals. And then you can read the rest of the tier list by yourself, guys. But this is it for me. This is Malik Hicks, aka the Ranker of the Ultimate Sports TV, signing off. Peace out, and I'll see you in my next one.